host, Juanne Williams. Thanks for being here. Please visit us at www.gamechangerwithjoe.com. For additional details, the show is also live streamed using the handle Roch Life on Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, and Periscope. Are you seeking things that set your soul on fire? Is today the day you start your impossible? Remember, you are enough, always. We hope you leave us better than you came.
Hello, hello, hello. This is Joanne. I am back from my 2-week hiatus. It's been a very, very busy 2 weeks. I must thank my dear and wonderful friend Sarah Voyard for hosting in my absence. And from what I heard, she got really rave reviews and she did an amazing job. So I'm thinking that we've got to have her back on again. If you're wondering where I was for the past couple of weeks, I was in Africa. It was a trip that I wanted to take for the longest time. For 1 week, I volunteered at an orphanage, and for the second week, I pretty much did a tour of Ghana, and I visited the slave castles, had some fun on the canopy, went to the national park. It was a very emotionally enlightening journey. I learned a lot. There was a lot of life-affirming things, and I've always had a reverence for life and an appreciation for what I have. But when you spend time with people who have literally nothing, and they continue to smile and be happy in the face of unimaginable difficulties, it really, really changes your perspective. And I am forever grateful. It is something that I will continue to do from here on out. But in my absence, I hope that everybody was have been doing well, have been taking care of yourselves and your families. Tonight we have a guest, Keisha George, and later on I'll be bringing her on. She is hailing from St. Vincent, which is where I am originally from. And tonight we're going to speak with motherhood. We're going to speak about motherhood and career. I must tell you that I'm not an expert in the topic. Keisha, the reason why I have her on is because she is a mother and she's also an entrepreneur. And hopefully you can relate to some of the things that she is talking about tonight. I understand that 45 minutes is not enough time to fully explore this topic and talk about this vast minefield of trying to balance those mothers who have to work and have children outside of the home. 45 minutes, we can't even begin to scratch the surface. But I hope that what we leave you with tonight is coping strategy. As usual, if you want to follow the show, catch up on past broadcasts, or contact me in any way, please go to gamechangerwithjoe.com. All the information is there. I also want to thank my listeners, my dedicated listeners, wherever you are, however this message finds you. I know we're reaching hundreds per week, and we continue to do better, and I could not do this alone, even though we've never met. I know you're out there, and you know you're listening, and please know that I appreciate it. I appreciate you tuning in and spending your Thursday nights with me. For the month of May, we have some amazing guests coming up. Next week, we'll be speaking about a topic that affects millions of American households, autism and families. We're going to also talk about the relationships that we have at work and our career and how important it is to be happy at work. We're also going to have a veteran joining us. Coincidentally, I work with vets, so this should be a very interesting discussion. In my own experience, I grew up in a single-parent household. That's just the way a lot of households are in the Caribbean and elsewhere, but it's very prevalent and pervasive in the Caribbean. And I practically raised my younger sister. I won't get into the details. That's just how it was. And I watched my mother struggle, and I mean literally struggle, to take care of us and put food on the table while she was working. And times were very difficult. I remember when I was in high school, And I don't know why this memory has always stuck with me, but I remember when I was in high school, every time every time you went from one form to a next, the expectation is that you would get new shoes, maybe a new uniform if it wasn't faded, something you would be dressed in your duds by the time you were meant to go back to school. And that wasn't me. That just wasn't me. Maybe every couple of years I would get one, a new something, because there just wasn't enough money. And one of my memories from high school, not that my high school years were not good. They were some of the best years of my life. I went to a Catholic high school. I could not have asked for better education. But I went, I remember I wore my shoes so long. It was the only pair I had that there were holes in the soles of my shoes. And I remember quite vividly being made fun of. And I said to myself, at the time, of course, you're a teenager, you're thinking about how you look to your peers. And it was just a bad memory, like we all do. But now that I'm thinking about it, I said, you know what? Had it not been for those holes in the shoes and me persevering, who knows what would have happened. So tonight, my intention is to discuss, before we get to that point, mothers who are raising young children alone, and fathers too. But let's face it, it's most of the women at home with the children. And it's most of the women who are not married trying to balance their work and their career, and there are all the challenges that come along with it. If you are a mother or a parent of a young child, you're but an entrepreneur, I'm pretty sure that you'll agree that you can't do these things alone. You just can't. In America especially, we need an entire infrastructure to support families as a whole. If we got paid family leave instead of just maternity leave, that would make a difference. If sometimes people don't have a choice, they have to go back to work, or some people have to quit their jobs because they can't afford childcare. It is crucial that we address this problem. But that's a whole nother different show that we won't be able to cover tonight. But without further ado, I'm going to introduce my listeners to Keisha, and I hope that she was able to tune on. If she isn't, that's totally fine. We will go ahead and we'll get the show started. Keisha, are you with us? Not to worry. Maybe she's having difficulties joining me tonight. That's totally fine. One of the joys of radio is that you have to be prepared for pretty much anything. So what I want to do tonight is identify some of the challenges that comes with raising children. Maybe she'll join us at a later point. If not, I got you guys covered. One of the challenges that I've spoken to mothers tonight to prepare myself for this show. And I work in social services, and this is often a discussion that I've had in the past with mothers who struggle. And some of the things that they identify to me is that they feel a massive sense of guilt that they're not spending enough time with their children. They feel that they can't be a super parent and a super employee, if that makes any sense. They want to give their children 24 hours undivided attention. It's not always the case. Another challenge that has been presented is that they find it hard to prioritize work in a way that they make their employers happy and their home lives be balanced at the same time. A survey was conducted by Care.com and Yahoo Parenting, and it found that 38% of mothers who worked full-time, along with an additional 25% of mothers who worked part-time, said it was very difficult to balance work and family. Just think about that. 38% of mothers who work full-time and 25% of mothers who work part-time said it was very difficult to balance work and family. The majority of working mothers still feel that it is possible to succeed as a working parent. So there's hope. They feel that they can succeed. However, there's difficulties in that. Another difficulty, another challenge that they have is there's an endless to-do list. And the realization that the list will only get done if someone, somewhere, aka the mother, find ways to add maybe an extra couple of hours to the day. And even then, between doing all the chores that they have around the house, getting the kids ready for school, presenting a project at work, etc., they find out that the extra hours that they thought they would need is not enough. I am pretty sure that you can relate to that. You think you have enough hours in the day, but you don't. And I can't even begin to figure out what people's schedule is who have like maybe 2, 3, 4 kids, a full-time job, and they go to school and they work. My mind is boggled by that. Especially if you are a younger mother and you're still struggling with this. I take my hat off to you. I salute you. Please know that unless we're walking in your shoes, we can never begin to know the struggles that you face on a daily basis. There are more challenges out there that you can tell me if we were having a discussion at this given moment. Now, what are some ways that you can meet the challenges? And when I was at university, we had a roundtable discussion with parents who were facing this same issue. And it's one of the reasons why I chose this topic tonight, because I realized that I lived it, I have friends who are living it, and beyond my own personal scope, there's millions of women out there facing these challenges and even bigger challenges that are unique to your situation. I can't imagine, especially I live in New York City, having to work full-time, go to school full-time, raise kids, take public transportation, and all the other, struggles that New York City has. I have always said it's one of the greatest cities in the world, but it also has some of the greatest challenges ever. So, what are some of the ways that you can meet these challenges? Well, if you are married, how about if you involve your spouse? Okay? First of all, we all have a limited amount of time in the day. If you have children, your time is even more limited. If you have a baby, you want to savor every last minute of it. And that is great. Okay? Sometimes you're more likely to end up doing all the work yourself. In short, if you don't involve your spouse in helping you, if you are married, then you're doing yourself pretty much a disservice. Okay? If your spouse or your partner, I shouldn't just say husband because we have people who are in same-sex relationships. If your husband or partner can shoulder some of the burden, okay, of helping to take care, whether it's the baby or the chores around the house, trust me, I've heard mothers say that we interviewed, it will lead to less resentment. It would lead to more communication, because sometimes we might have the appearance of thinking, oh, I have it all together. I'm doing good. And you might think that your husband sees the stress that you're going through, but he can't read your mind. And we know sometimes that communication is an issue. So why don't we? In involving your spouse, it's also important that you work on the details of who's going to do what and when. Okay? Because we all know, I was married at one point. If you're not talking, pretty soon you won't be talking at all. Before I move on to the next challenge, I was just given notification by my engineers that my guest has arrived, and we will soon be picking up this conversation. But I want to bring her on to introduce her to our listeners. Hi, Keisha. How are you?
Hi, Joanne. How are you doing? I'm well, thanks.
I am doing wonderful. It's lovely to have you join us.
Oh, it's a pleasure to finally get on.
It's all good. I was holding on the fort until you got here. Not to worry, not to worry.
Okay.
I was talking a little bit about the challenges that mothers face in mostly mothers, of course, but not that fathers don't face these challenges
Mhm.
in balancing motherhood or even career or entrepreneurship. And before I bring you into after these challenges, I wanted to ask you to introduce yourself to our listeners, if you don't mind.
Okay. Well, good night, everyone that's listening. You're doing a good thing. Joanne is somebody who has a lot to offer. I am Keisha George. I live in the beautiful St. Vincent and the Grenadines, the beautiful island chain in the Eastern Caribbean. And I am originally from Trinidad and Tobago. I'm married. I've been married for the past 8 years, and I have a total of four children, one bonus, and three very enthusiastic and lively um, littles, 6 and under. So I am, I am trying to balance all that Joanne has been speaking about for the past few minutes, and I am not always on top of it. But then we'll talk more about that as we go along tonight.
Awesome, awesome. You're a mother of four children. Oh my goodness. And you have a side hustle. Can you tell us a little bit more about that and how listeners can reach you if they're interested in your services?
Oh, that's so cool. Thank you. Um, if you go on to on Facebook, the social media platform, my business page that I've just recently started pushing. It's the social VA. What I do is editing, virtual assistant services, and social media management. I am mostly right now. I'm mostly doing editing, and I am really really happy to share. And I'm also very humbled by this fact that one of the students that I've been working with in the States, she, because of her papers, she's just gotten on the dean's list because I've been
Wow.
working with her, making sure that her work is, up to standard. And I feel so proud of her, and I'm also very proud of myself for contributing to this experience for her.
Of course, of course.
Yeah,
Congratulations.
yes, she works very hard, and sometimes you just need somebody to make sure it's clean and crisp for you. That's where I come
Mhm.
in.
Mhm.
Yes,
Thank you for that. Well, to the both of you for a job well done. Congratulations. So you are a social virtual assistant. You manage social
yes,
media accounts, and as long as if you do help people with papers, editing, writing, grammar correction,
yes,
that sort of thing.
yes, yes, ma'am.
Awesome sauce, awesome sauce. Okay. Thank you very much for doing that. I introduced this show by identifying some of the challenges that
Mhm.
parents face across the board. And I would like you to share with our listeners, as much as you're able to, as little as you want, some of the challenges
Mhm.
that you have identified raising a family and also trying to hold on a job or a hustle as well.
Well, I could share from both perspectives of having a job, a 9 to 5, and also
Hmm.
having working from home, being a full time. Well, in the last few months, I am
Hmm.
a full time mother, and I
Hmm.
will say this: it's not easy.
Yes.
Major challenge, like you said earlier, children need your attention, and I am a very, very proud wife of a minister,
Hmm.
a pastor, and I would say this: even with the noble work that we say that we're doing,
Hmm.
there's nothing that could take the place of mothering the for the needs that our children have. They could be
Mhm.
how young or how old. Everybody needs their mother,
Mhm.
and because that is a constant need, no matter what I'm doing, sometimes I have to refuse clients because my children are gonna need me for the day. I have to say I can't do this task, I can't do that, and that is the major thing. The time is the
Mhm.
major thing, and also
Mhm.
because for me as an individual, I am not instinctively, or what's the word I should use? I'm not very organized. I'm not a person who I'm not one of those persons who could polish it and put it together in
Yeah.
no time. I have a friend like that. She
Mhm.
she comes and she helps me sometimes because I'm so grateful. But
Mhm.
I don't have that naturally.
Mhm.
So I have to make extra effort to put things in place in order to manage my time better.
Mhm.
Um, it's a little harder for me because it doesn't come naturally, and
Mhm.
it's easy to fall off the wagon when you put things when you think you have it together, then you all of a sudden one messy child or one stay home day could turn your life around when it
Yeah.
comes to your cleaning, when it comes to your house maintenance. So you have to deal. And we have to be honest as women that
Yeah.
we really want to have all things together, but it's very hard, especially when you don't have the money to hire people to do it for you. You
Exactly.
know what I'm saying?
Exactly. Yes.
Yeah,
Yes. So time is a factor, of course.
time is
That's one of
major.
your challenges, and also you've had
Mhm.
to, along with that, you've had to turn down jobs because, like you say, your family comes first,
Yes,
and
there
you
was a
just you
there was
just
a
can't say
season.
yes to everybody.
No, I can't. There was a time when every single body in the house, every single person in the house was
Mhm.
ill,
Mhm.
and I got ill, but then I'm the mother,
Yes.
so I don't
You
have a sick
expect it
day.
to get better right away.
I don't have a sick day.
Yes.
Every single person in the house was ill, and
Yes.
definitely there was no jobs, nothing happening at that time.
Mhm.
And that was pretty recent. So we're just recovering, and I'm just trying to rebuild my
Mhm.
and try to put things in place for those kinds of emergencies.
Yeah.
Because sometimes we
Yeah.
have to be reactive, and when you're doing it on your own, it's a side hustle that you're now trying to live by.
Mhm. Mhm.
But that's where the super strength of a woman comes in. Yes, we have to. When we don't make it, we still float. We refuse to sink. We're gonna float
You
if
have
we can't
superpowers. Yes. You're expected
yeah.
to have superpowers. Any other
Oh
challenge
my.
that you any other challenge that you can identify? You said that you don't have time. Anything else that stands out to you at all?
Um, time is major for me because because like I said to you, I'm not a naturally organized person. I give myself a little pressure about not do having things in a particular order.
Yes, yes,
You
yes.
know, so
Mhm.
and and then I guess that could go towards comparing yourself to other people who seem to
Yes,
have it together, which
yes,
is bad and which
yes,
is something that I do, and
yeah.
I don't think it's the best thing to do, of course, and
Mhm.
I'm
Mhm.
working on it, but it is
Mhm.
something that women across the board deal with.
Yeah.
Here I am in the I'm in the Caribbean islands, and there are some women, and of course because it's not a blogging is just coming out on stream here, but I follow like organizing blogs. Most of them are American based,
Mhm.
where you have easy access to things like dollar stores, where you could buy things to help you stay organized. You know what
Mhm.
I'm saying?
Yes.
Really affordable things. That is
Yes.
not the same here in the Caribbean.
Mhm. Mhm.
Even and we understand that the comparison for even things like salaries is majorly different.
Mhm.
So
Mhm.
you can't I can't compare myself to some of the ladies with the access to certain things. What I have to do is work with what I have,
Mhm.
and I'm saying this and I'm thinking about the number of women who we find ourselves comparing what somebody else is doing, what another businesswoman is doing, what another individual is doing, what another mother is doing, and there's no way that's going to be helpful for us in the long run. There's no way it's helping us even in the present. All it's going to make us feel sorry for ourselves and insecure and insufficient when, because I'm a woman of faith also, I know that the God that I serve has enabled me to manage whatever comes my way. His grace is sufficient for me, and I want all ladies listening to this, all families, all men, whatever you're doing, don't compare yourself to other people. You have what it is you need for the lane that you're running in.
Yes, yes. And I am so appreciative that you brought up this particular fact because a couple, I want to say about 4 or 5 weeks ago, that was a topic of one of our shows about the dangers of comparing ourselves to other people, because we are on the outside looking in, aren't we? We look over at the neighbor's grass and we're like, oh my gosh, that is so green, that is so well manicured, that's so well watered. Somebody is watering it, but is it artificial grass? You know, it's the appearance of what the grass looks like.
Come on, there are people they're painting grass now.
Exactly. But you looking at it, you're like, oh my.
Authentic, exactly. Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah. And like you say, your schedule is different than another mom's schedule, right? She might have a nanny that comes in a couple days a week to help with the kids or a cleaner or something, and you're not privy to that. But like you said, we get so stressed out thinking, oh my gosh, I'm not doing a good job, or this person seems to be handled so smooth and so efficient that we lose track of what's really important, which is our own journey.
You know what I find to be hilarious now that I'm remembering how it was when I just started in this thing. I find that it's funny to me now because I'm a little more mature and I understand myself a little better. But when I especially when I realized that my husband was going into ministry, you know, there's a kind of pressure of being like thinking that you need to be a particular type of woman to be a minister's wife. And there was that pressure initially, or to be any leader's wife, any former leader, to be any man's wife, as a matter of fact. Let's just get very real here.
Yes.
And I felt that type of pressure, and now I'm saying it doesn't matter what position your family is in, you're a woman, you're a mother, and you could be how high or how low on the social strata or the social ladder. The needs and the struggles are all the same.
Yes.
We all have different resources and means to deal with those things, but they are all the same. The president's wife is going to have to deal with a messy child. The laborer's wife is going to have to deal with a messy child. The prime minister's children get sick. My children get sick. You know, so we are all dealing with the same thing. We may have different resources to answer those concerns or needs, but we're all on the same platform when it comes to mothering and managing our family life.
Yes. Exactly. Which brings me to another point. I mean, being a minister's wife, the way you are, is a job in and of itself. I'm pretty sure you have people expect certain things from you on a Sunday. You know, your kids have to be well behaved. They got to be well dressed. You know, and Sunday comes around.
That's the children being well behaved in truth is where some of the pressure came in. To be quite honest, because I have my last daughter. She is a pricey 2-year-old with full of personality, and there are times when she wants to go and dance in the middle of the aisle, which is fine, you know. But she would then go and greet everybody, say hello to everybody, which is cute for 2. But I need to rein her in now because when she's 5, when she's 7 and 8, the walking up and down. So those are the things that you could pressure yourself, but I am learning. I want to emphasize that I'm learning. I have not mastered it,
Yes.
I'm learning
Yes.
how to be comfortable with the fact that I am a work in progress and my
Mhm.
family is a work in progress.
Mhm.
There's
Mhm.
no
I,
perfection anywhere.
no, there isn't. There isn't, and we can only strive towards it, but we will never achieve it in this life. One of the things I
No,
mentioned
man.
earlier, exactly,
Uh-huh.
exactly. One of the things I mentioned earlier is that sometimes moms, especially, feel guilty about working. Now, some of us,
Oh, yes.
some mothers don't have a choice. What would you say to the mothers who feel guilty about having to work? Like, they, of course, they have to work to keep food on the table, but there's this sense of guilt that they should be home with their children. What would you say to mothers listening tonight who feel a sense of guilt?
For some reason, I'm kind of cutting out. I'm going to have to get back. I don't know. I'm cutting out. I hope I don't cut off.
Hmm.
Hello,
Yeah, I can
hello.
hear you. I can hear you.
I may have to call back in because
Okay,
I'm not hearing you as clearly. I'm so sorry. I'm gonna call back in immediately. Is
that's
that okay?
fine. That's totally fine. Yes, I will carry on.
Okay. All right.
Okay,
Thank you. I'm coming back.
okay. In terms of moms feeling guilty, I know that this is one of the issues we had in the roundtable discussion. Um, they feel guilty that they have to choose work. However, if they don't work, where will the money come from to feed the children? I mean, we know about public assistance, etc., but that's besides the point.
Sure.
And they worry about everything from shortchanging their children, being there for all the games, the basketball, the etc., to shortchanging themselves. And sometimes you have to remind yourself that in choosing work, you are providing your children with a life that they may have better options in the future than if you stayed at home. It's also important to recognize that even the moms who stay at home have their own set of challenges. Um, Women who are at home with young children sometimes feel isolated and they don't feel, you know, good about themselves. In fact, research has shown that they are at a higher risk of being depressed. And I just want you to consider that for a moment. Remind yourself that if you work, you can give your child more options. Okay? Women who stay at home, they also have their own set of problems, and research has shown that they are at a greater risk for depression. Now, I'm not saying this applies to your family. I'm not saying this applies to a family that you know. I'm just simply stating what the research shows. Another issue to think about, another way to deal with the challenges, I'm sorry, is that when you're at work, sometimes you have a hard time concentrating at work because you're thinking about the million things that you have to do tonight when you get home, you know, the projects that the kids are working on, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And it seems as if you are not 100% where you are. This is where compartmentalizing comes in. I had a
Downstairs.
friend
Downstairs.
I had a friend who told me that I am good at compartmentalizing things. And I
The
said, why would you
Cynthia's
say
all
that?
down
Because
there.
she says, you have you have a place for everything, which is what we should all be doing. Um, Another thing that we should be mindful of when we're thinking about working versus staying at home, it's knowing what your priorities are. Okay? It is okay to be a hardworking professional and a great mom. Okay? It doesn't mean that your home has to have some kind of perfect appearance. It doesn't mean that you have to have a fabulous dinner every night. It doesn't mean that you are going to be able to stay on top of everything that's going on in your house. So if the kitchen floor is dirty, that's fine. Nobody is going to judge you, or maybe you are putting that pressure on yourself if your house is not in order 24 hours a day. Now, those are some ways to deal with the challenges that you sometimes have. and some of the things that could come up. So how do you survive? How do you survive balancing motherhood and entrepreneurship? A couple of suggestions that came out of roundtable discussions and conversations I've had leading up to tonight. One mom told me that what works for her is being proactive. Simply means that
I did hear waiting on her. Maybe that's what she's talking about. Mm-hmm.
Simply means that if you are making time for yourself, know that you're going to have to be proactive in taking some things and prioritizing them. Bear in mind that you don't always have to stick to a certain schedule, okay? You can say, okay, this is what I have to do now, and these are the steps that I'm going to take to be able to do it. Make time for yourself. You have all these demands on your time. What about you? What are you doing for yourself? Do you need to recharge? Do you need to go on a vacation? Do you have to take some time off to go on a wellness activity? Yes, you do. Sometimes you do.
Hello?
I am going to take a quick break because there seems to be some interference on my line, and I'm going to have a chat with the engineers. I apologize for what's happening.
Can't live this life afraid of what will or won't happen today. You gotta stand tall, be strong and pray, and knowing that God is the only way. Shit is trying to hinder us with the system of the world should have never been distant from God's, but in addition, the devil's trying to destroy you without permission. Saints, let's get down to business. I saw then choose rest with the righteousness. You gotta be brave, talking to the enemy. You think I'm scared of a guy who in front of me, and every time I wake up, he be tempting me, trying to fill my cup up with iniquity. He don't fight fair, he hit below the belt, and you gotta go to God, cause there ain't nobody else. No. He saved you, you couldn't save yourself. So why you sitting here thinking you don't need his help? What? Why you sitting here thinking you don't need his help? Jesus is the only way to live is to pray today. Never separate yourself from him. Let him be a source and all you need. Cause Jesus is the way, the truth, and the life. The pure sacrifice ever given. The one I believe to have risen. The one I'll follow for the rest of my days. Jesus is the only way. Okay. Yeah.
Okay, welcome back. I apologize for all the interference that you were hearing. Apparently, some of the lines got unmuted, and I apologize for that. This is what we call live radio. As I was saying, we were talking about some survival strategies which will help you deal with the challenges of balancing motherhood and entrepreneurship or a career. Another strategy that is important to consider is to stay connected. Okay? What I mean when I say connected is to have some way to manage your stress. Because if you're at work, you're going to be thinking about what's happening at home. Is there somebody that you can check in with? Is there a partner or an older child or a family member that can pretty much talk you off the ledge? That would help. Knowing that somebody else is at the other end of the line, whether you can reach out to ask about, if how your child is doing, or if somebody's able to contact you, that will help you to feel a little bit better. Realize, another strategy is to realize that your situation is temporary, okay? Especially for new moms who are just going back to work after having children, okay? You also will need to learn that you don't need to be where your children are every minute of the day. And it won't be long before you kind of find yourself in a groove, and you will learn that you can multitask. These are all suggestions from people that I've spoken to leading up to today. Now, I also did some research on my own to be able to offer the best advice possible. We mentioned a little bit earlier about comparing yourself to others. Another suggestion from the expert is to know that you should be treating your family events like you would an important client. If you have a client at work, you have to most likely have a lot of things on your calendar to make your project materialize. Treat your family events in the same way. They are no less important. Research has also suggested that you ask for your kids' input to get their opinions. That will help you see how they feel and help you to make better decisions. Another suggestion is to look beyond one day or 1 week. Okay? Don't be so hard on yourself. Know that there's only 24 hours in a day. Family schedules get hectic, and sometimes things are much broader on the horizon, and you can't really see the big picture. We stress a lot about what's going on today. We only have today, but sometimes we also stress about tomorrow and next week when it doesn't belong to us. Find times for the things and people that matter in your life. When we start putting things and money ahead of our own needs and ahead of the needs of our family, then we start to see the cracks in the ceiling. If you're in a situation at work where it doesn't fit your definition of success, don't set yourself up for failure. Recognize that sometimes the jobs that we get into doesn't really define our lives, or it doesn't move us toward the goals that we have set for ourselves. Maybe we want more time off. Maybe we don't want to work nights anymore. Whatever it is, if it's not your definition of success, know that you don't have to be tied to it. Another suggestion is to say no more often. Okay? Sometimes we fill up our schedules with so much that we're so used to saying yes that we have a hard time saying no, because people have come to expect the word yes from us. Start with little bites. It doesn't have to be something big. It takes about 30 days to change your habit. Know what your limits are, but don't be afraid to say no. Another suggestion from researchers is to ask for what you need. What I simply mean is set boundaries, share your expectations, share the role you want, the schedule you want, the career you want. Nobody can read your mind, okay? And if you need more time at home for a child that might be struggling in school, okay, then that's what you need. Don't undermine yourself because of guilt or old habits. Another thing to also be, I mentioned earlier, is to have time for yourself. Remember, at the end of the day, sometimes as a parent or head of household, most likely as a mother, okay, you're often stressed, you're often busy, okay? It's a struggle sometimes, and remember, it's a human thing. It's not a perfectionist thing. Every person that you see is fighting some kind of battle, okay? If you need 10 minutes per day to meditate, to pray, to have affirmations, then that's what you need. If you need a weekend every couple of months at a spa or retreat, then that's what you need. I want you to be aware that sometimes, as we were discussing earlier, the grass is not greener on the other side. Sometimes what you see is artificial turf. And comparing yourself to what you think, comparing yourself to a snapshot of somebody else's life, well, that's just setting yourself up for failure. Because you don't know, even though it appears perfect on the outside, they have their own struggles. And too often we're concerned with being the perfect this, the perfect that, and we have responsibilities up to our necks. I am fully aware that some mothers need to work. I am fully aware that mothers sometimes don't have a choice. I was raised by a single parent. I saw her work hard day in and day out to put food on the table to send us to school. We turned out just fine. You're going to be just fine. Just remember that you don't have to do this alone. Whatever resources you have, reach out for them. Whatever free child care you have, reach out for it. After school study groups, please do your research, find it. It is one of the things that the roundtable discussion taught me, is that no one is perfect, okay? Take care of yourself, know your limits, and set boundaries. If you take nothing away from tonight in terms of balancing work and a home life, no one is perfect. Okay, set boundaries, know your limits, and never be afraid to say no. Those were the things that they wanted me to bring back to you. And as I get ready to wrap up the show tonight, I apologize for the interferences on the phone. Sometimes that does happen. But I hope that you were able to get the message that I was trying to bring to you tonight. And I appreciate you being here. I appreciate your time. And next week, I look forward to having you back listening with me. And from New York City, this is Joanne Williams, host of Game Changer with Joe. I hope you have a wonderful week and a wonderful night. Take care of yourselves and your families. Bye-bye.